rotate it first before you send it. I mean, it's easy to, I rotate it once I get it. But
So some of them,
like that'll easily
Yeah.
rotate in Adobe.
yeah, so if I do rotate it though, it's gonna be smaller.
It's like on the computer.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're thinking of people who print it out. Okay, that makes sense.
But I can do that.
You can rotate it online really easily.
No, I do,
Oh,
I
yeah.
do. Yeah,
Click and it's.
yeah, right.
All right.
Oh, they are
It is
not present.
6:30. We are going to start on
Our
time.
confusion.
We have a guest tonight, Rachel Young from BHNA, who I will introduce in a second. We also have Marianne Kiernan. Hi, Rachel. We also have Marianne Kiernan sitting in tonight with us. I think that's it, but I will officially take the roll. Joan Coco,
Here. You hear me? Yep.
Rose Marie,
Yeah.
and Karen Fontino.
Yeah.
And Karen Janowski,
There.
and John Parsons,
Here.
and Karen Panett,
Here.
and Jean Prada,
Here.
and Marilyn Shapley,
Here.
and Deborah Small, and Nancy Twadros.
Yes, here.
And Jackie Bahina,
Here.
and Linda Connors,
Here.
Sally Hoyt,
No.
and I said Nancy Zimlack. So we have a quorum and we're ready to go. Let me quickly review the agenda for tonight so that we all kind of know what we're doing. So we're going to approve the October and November minutes in a second. Then BHNA is going to do a presentation for us. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Council on Aging. Then we're going to open it up to questions, both from this side of the table and also questions that BHNA might have for us. Then Chris is going to do his report. Jenna's going to talk a little bit about the ARPA presentation she did. We'll get a recalc liaison update from John Parsons, a public health survey update from Marilyn, a select board update from Mark, and then the last bit, it's all kind of in one paragraph, but we're going to get reports from the work groups on how much progress was made or movement forward. All righty, so everybody received in the mail the October and November minutes. Do I have a motion to accept the October minutes?
So moved. I second it.
Discussion?
We had the discussion at the last meeting, so I think, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can we do that?
Oh, because we've got it. Okay.
We just have to call the member names.
Joan,
Yes.
Rosemarie,
Yes.
Karen Fontino,
Yes.
Karen Janowski.
Yes.
John Parsons,
Yes.
Karen Panett,
Yes.
Jean Prado,
Yes.
Marilyn Shapley.
Yes.
Nancy Twadros.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's take a look at the November minutes. Do I have a motion to accept the November minutes?
So moved.
I second it.
Discussion?
That's fine.
Okay, no discussion. Let's take a vote.
Yes.
Joan?
Yes.
You knew. Rosemarie
Yes.
and Karen Fontino
Yes.
and Karen Janowski
Yes.
and John Parsons,
Yes.
Karen Panett,
Yes.
Jean Prado,
Yes.
Marilyn Shapley,
Yes.
and Nancy G.
Yes.
Okay. Good. So now we can move on to our next agenda item, which will take about 30 minutes or so. I have two slides that I would like to share with the group as well as BHNA. And I really am glad that Joel and Rachel, that you're here tonight, because this is a wonderful progress that we've made on this project. So we're very interested in hearing from you about your thoughts on the project. So first, I just wanted to make sure that BHNA clearly understands that our Council on Aging Board is set up a little bit differently than some of the other towns. We are not the Elder and Human Services. We are an advisory board to the Elder and Human Services, as well as outreach to the 60-plus population. So this board is full of people.
Yes.
As you can see, that have an interest in the over 60 population. And we are in a position to advise the town on various and sundry future needs of Reading aged 60-plus community. Our responsibilities include identifying the needs and interests of senior citizens and encouraging programs to address those needs and interests, educating the community about the needs of our seniors, developing a network for information sharing, and establishing policy direction to be implemented by Reading Elder Services. So that, in a nutshell, is who we are. We are composed of 10 members and 4 associate members. I myself, Nancy Zimlak, is the chair. This is I just assumed this role in September. Formerly, Marilyn Shapley was the chair. John Parsons is the vice chair, and Nancy Twadros is the secretary. And what I'd like to do now is open it up for our members here to introduce themselves to you. And we have probably about, I don't know, you've got about 15 seconds, but if you want to throw in a little bit of a comment about why you were here on the Council on Aging Board, or what you think is really important this year for us. So I'm going to start with Marilyn Shapley.
Hi, I'm Marilyn Shapley, formerly the chair. I cycled out of that after 2 years and after 7 years as secretary. So now I'm just a regular old member. So I've been on the council for about 10 years now. I bring a strong background in healthcare to the table and in data analysis and all sorts of things like that, but have gotten drawn more and more into the elder services segment of the population in terms of my interest, mostly through caring for people in my family. And now at my ripe old age, I'm starting to care for myself. So here I am.
Okay.
Just go around the table.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm Rosemary DiBenedetto. I've lived in Reading since 1977. I've gone to the senior center almost every single day. Christopher says he has a bed there for me. Being on site, I see many issues that need to be addressed for the elder community. I'm sure you're aware of the most recent one at our center. We were flooded again, as we have been through the years. And I just want to advocate for people who are lonely and need a place to go.
And I'm Karen Janowski. I've been on the board, on the council for the past year and a half. It's been a great opportunity. I'm well into my 60-plus age years, and I have a background in occupational therapy and inclusive technology. So I like to use that, and I'm looking forward to what's going to happen this next year. I think it's really exciting what is going to happen for the 60-plus community in Reading.
Good.
Oh, I'm Linda Connors. I grew up here. I've been here since 1947. Went to school. I'm an associate on it, non-voting, but kind of sit here and listen and think.
I'm Karen Fotino. I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for about 25 years. I specialize in geriatrics. I have all kinds of certifications in geriatrics. I left the hospital right after COVID first hit, and I'm a college professor right now, and I teach geriatrics and medical surgical nursing. I also do some consultation work at Winchester Hospital about how they can improve the care of their older adults. And I've been in Reading for about 6 years. I was born and raised here, but then moved away, and I joined this when I came back so I can help our community.
What college?
Merrimack College.
Hello, I'm Chris Savlowski, the Elder and Human Services Administrator. And I'm also a resident of Reading, so.
I'm Jenna Fiorenti. I'm the Community Services Director. I know that I've met Joel and Rachel a couple times now, and I'm happy to have them on board as our consultants. Couldn't be happier to have them. And I guess we'll go to Joan Coco.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
Nancy.
It's already met.
Nancy too, but no, go ahead, Nancy.
No, no,
Sorry.
Hi, Nancy Tawadros. I've been on the council for about 1.5 years, currently as secretary, and I've met you both actually during the selection process. So it's nice to see you again. And background in HR, but started out in human services, just a real passion for the senior community.
my turn.
Yes.
Oh, my name's Joan Coco. I've been in Reading for 50 years. I've been a member of COA for about almost 10 years. And I'm really interested in what giving us seniors things to do. Thank you.
I guess I'll go next since nobody else chimed in. I've been in Reading for almost 50 years. I've been on the council for about 10 years. I'm involved with the Friends of Reading 60 Plus. I was a volunteer medical escort for until that program died, and I've been on the Recal committee. So I guess that shows I'm interested in the needs of seniors.
Thank you, John.
I'm Karen Panett. I'm a Reading resident for almost 30 some odd years. I'm now into my senior years. I also am the property manager of an elderly housing complex here in Reading. So I deal with them and want to do as much as I can to support them. Thank you.
Hi, I am Jean Prado. I am a resident of Reading for 51 years. I feel very strongly in being an advocate for seniors to enhance their lifestyles for betterment. My background is in marketing. I am or have been in the past an event planner for a board of directors in the financial industry.
And I'm Jackie Behenna. I'm an associate member. Been a member since 2020. Been in Reading for about 18 years, and I am a physical therapist, and I work in home care, and have been in home care for 12 plus years now.
Thank you, everybody. And with that, I would like to turn the meeting over to Rachel and Joel to tell us more about BHNA and kind of the vision that you have for this project.
That's the picture I've got.
Well, hi, this is Joel. Thank you for that in-depth introduction of your side. I'm an architect at BH+A, and I do feasibility studies. Rachel and I do most of the senior center studies that we do in the office. So you'll see which parts she works on and which parts I'll work on as we go through the presentation. Rachel, you want to do a quick introduction?
So yeah, it's great to meet everyone. I do appreciate meeting in Zoom this evening, though I am looking forward to seeing and meeting you all in person soon. Yeah, so my name is Rachel Young. I've been with BH+A for 10 plus years now. Not originally from Massachusetts, and I think I say this, but it's worth repeating. I'm always impressed by the Council on Aging system, if you will, in Massachusetts, not being from here. When I first moved to the area, I was just like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is something that exists. And so I'm so humbled, let's say, to be part of it. I really enjoy doing these projects and meeting different COAs and groups and really helping them realize their dreams. So thank you for letting me help you out.
I'll just do the cliff notes and then we can jump into the presentation, but our firm specializes in social service programs such as senior centers, but we also do youth centers and childcare centers. But right now we're doing tremendous number of senior centers. That's where the big demand is. And we also do community centers that combine seniors and recreation or other various programs. So this type of facility is something that we deal with every day. And what we thought we could do is walk you through the process of what's going to happen over the next 6-8 months of this feasibility study as we look at your different projects, your different sites for the project. And I'll turn it over to Rachel to start. We're going to start with sort of the overall schedule, and then we'll get into sort of the nuts and bolts of how the program gets developed.
Yep.
Rachel?
Yeah. So this is this, and just to back up a second, the presentation that we're doing this evening is kind of a hybrid between the presentation we had done as part of the interview process, and then we've kind of updated it as we progressed in the process. So you might see some slides that look familiar and you'll see some new slides. So this is the schedule that we envision for the process, and basically broken into the 3 phases that were identified by ReCalc. And I just want to highlight where we are in the process, which is in the beginning, where we're in the information review and gathering phase. And then I just wanted to note that in terms of deliverables, one thing that we discussed in addition to what's outlined in black, in red, that last item, an existing conditions assessment, that's something we would do for the Pleasant Street facility. So I know that it's been renovated and it's very well maintained, but in order to look at reusing it or renovating it further, we want to understand what we're working with. So that would be a study that we would do in consultation with engineers that we use to basically look at how healthy the building is, what's working in the building, what might not be working with the building. You mentioned the flooding, but also looking at the systems, like are the electrical panels up to date? Are there any issues with the fire pump? Those kind of things, because of course it has an impact on what you can renovate and costs. So then, as we move on from this information gathering phase, and I will say that there's an awful lot of information to process. You guys have done a phenomenal job in the research you've done to date. And I think our job is really to understand what else can we do, like really where we can be of value in this process that you guys have already started in earnest. But we'll start looking at the program. I think that's one area that I think definitely we can refine further and really dive into. And I just want to stress with the program, I call it a living program, which is noted in this schedule, because it's not something that's etched in stone in the first process, in the first phase, I should say, the programming phase. It's something that will evolve as we go through iterations of a design and you react to it. It'll evolve as we select a site, because the site will inform, how much you can actually build on it. And it'll evolve as we look at costs and we create priorities. So it's really not something that's ever nailed down, and it was something that will progress and get refined throughout the entire process. You want to go to the next slide? So the way we're basically boiling how we understand the investigation of sites, if you will, that you have the existing Pleasant Street site and looking at can that be reused, and then looking at a new site. Right now, the Simmons Way is identified as a site, and so you have a existing renovation and then you have a new construction. Other sites might be selected or might come to our attention during this process, but right now those are kind of the two sites that we're focusing on. So I just wanted to share some of our first impressions concerning those sites, and some of the criteria or characteristics of those sites that I think will be critical and specific to them. So with Pleasant Street, it's getting the program that you want on the site. Already there are issues with accessibility that I know you're all familiar with. Parking obviously is going to be a big issue with this site, given how constrained you are currently. Temporary space, you know, where would you guys go if this space was renovated, and making sure that that's fully vetted and understood. Likewise, operations. So that's what staff you would need for the new program. How might that look? I know that was mentioned the idea of maybe having 2 different sites and using a robust transportation program to really support that. That falls under operations as well. Talking about the level of renovation of the site and how that impacts cost. And then lastly, anything that comes up from that existing conditions assessment. And then for a new site, there already was one loading study that we looked at from another firm that basically says this site can hold a lot. So that's good. That really helps us out. But so looking at this site, it's going to be, again, what program would we put there? Looking at accessibility, and in this instance, it's not really accessibility in terms of ADA or universal design, but more accessibility. How do you get to the site? Walkability is related to that. And then the idea of synergies, and I think this applies to both sites, but what opportunities are there to take advantage of based on where the site is? So for example, this site here is adjacent and close to to fields and recreation uses. The Pleasant Street site obviously is close to a lot that's going on downtown. Parking, less of a concern on this site. I think it's large enough to support the parking that would be required. And then lastly, operations. The bigger the site, the bigger the program, and possibly the bigger the staff. The next, programming. So I think, and please let me know what your thoughts are. I really don't want to be talking too much. I really want to be more listening. But I think that what we can really begin our focus, our efforts on, is the existing condition survey for the building at Pleasant Street, and then really understanding your program. I know that you've gone through a few programming exercises. I've seen, you know, some very detailed spreadsheets, and I know you visited a lot of different centers, but really starting to distill that information into a program that we can then use as like the spine or the building block for the rest of our design efforts. And just to highlight some concepts, ideas, theories related to program. I'm sure these are things that you've picked up on as you've visited different sites and talked to different COAs and different COA directors, but I think they're just points that are worth just putting a fine point on, if you will. When we're talking about a community center that is intergenerational, a community center that serves all ages and might have a dedicated senior center component to it or within it, I think one thing that's important to remember is that those type of centers are most successful when there are redundancies in place. And so what do I mean by that? I mean that you might have a community center that has one common lounge, but then you're going to have a separate lounge that would be maybe only for 60 plus or for seniors. So that's a redundancy. Normally you wouldn't have 2 lounges per se, but you have that so that you make sure that good fences make good neighbors, if you will, that different groups have different spaces that they feel are their own. Same for, you might have a center that has 2 entrances, one for a gym and one for the general entrance. That requires 2 reception desks. You understand where I'm going here. And that's something I think we learned from centers. This is Randolph, and I don't know if you guys had visited Randolph, but that is one center that definitely uses that concept. Another key takeaway, if you will, and I kind of hit on this, is defined user spaces. So again, if there's going to be a senior center within a larger community center, making sure that those spaces, it's clear that those are senior center spaces and that they are owned, if you will, maintained by the COA. Not that other people aren't welcome to use them, but it's very clear that these are spaces that fall under the domain and the purview of the senior center. We've definitely seen that the opposite, when you have spaces that aren't clearly owned, they tend not to be used because no one thinks they're theirs. So this is just an example. This is a senior center that we had looked into where the seniors were very clear what spaces were important to them. In this case, it was the arts and crafts rooms. So we can talk about what spaces those might be for you.
But it also harks to that issue of redundancy. This particular arts and crafts room isn't one that could really be shared with the youth center because it's set up for quilting and other activities that you can see in the background. You can't set those up and take them down every day. So they're there are certain arts and crafts or other types of programs that really need to be dedicated, and not everything can be 100% flexible and shared.
So that leads into sharing spaces. There are spaces that are defined by the user that are owned, if you will, by certain departments or the COA. And then there are spaces that you agree we can share. And then it's just coming up with how they're shared. Are they shared based on time of day? Like the gym belongs to the senior center during the day and belongs to the recreation department in the afternoon, that kind of thing. It's just coming up with a clear understanding of how the spaces are shared.
With the proliferation of pickleball, the gyms are extremely popular for seniors, and then the walking track gets a lot of use by everybody in the community. So oddly enough, you're seeing more and more gyms with senior centers, and that harkens back to that Center for Active Living name.
And then flexible versus purpose-built spaces. This is something that we'll get into more with the program, but basically, is a space meant to be flexible where you have the staff and the time to set up and break down the space in order to use it for different programs throughout the day? Or is it a space that's really meant to be for one use only? So I'll give you two contrasting spaces and uses. This is a multi-purpose room. This is at the Needham CAF, the center at the Heights. This is a multi-purpose room that's intended to be set up and broken down so you can use it for different activities. Contrast that with maybe a billiards room where you have large pool tables that really aren't going anywhere. And then related to that, we're seeing a new trend in taking the dining programming that you typically would have in a multi-purpose room and creating a separate space for that to allow the multi-purpose room to really function. And so if Bill, do you mind just going back to the Needham CAF? So this is the small side of the multi-purpose room at the Needham CAF. And it's where their dining happens. You can see that there's like a pass through to the kitchen. They have most meals there. It's very active throughout the day. It's never really set up or broken down. It really just functions as a dining space for the entire day. What does that mean for the center? It means that they really never have their full multi-purpose room to use. So there are lots of gross motor activities that Needham hosts, like yoga, that they can't really host on site, that they're still doing via Zoom because they can't accommodate all the patrons that want to take that one class. If they were able to have a separate dining area and not have it in this one half of the multi-purpose room, then they could use the entire multi-purpose room, which is about 2,500, 2,800 square feet, for those really popular physical activity classes. And so what I'm showing here, this is a slide at Falmouth. And this is their like dining lounge cafe area. It's right next to the multi-purpose room. And this is where most of the eating happens. And so that means that, again, their large multi-purpose room can be used for really, really big popular gross motor activities like Tai Chi, for example. And it's used to its ultimate capacity, if you will. It really makes sure that the multi-purpose room is in fact multi-purpose. So I also like this too, because it feels a little less institutional, if you will. Like comparing the two slides, I would far rather eat in the Falmouth Cafe than in the Needham multi-purpose room, but that's just me. And then of course, exterior programming. I know that was on list of priorities was to have outdoor space, and we should just define what those are and what the size requirements are, and make sure that we don't neglect them as we develop the program.
What time is good for you tomorrow?
And then special spaces. I just wanted to highlight that there might be spaces that you have not even realized you want yet because they don't exist at another center. And we should make sure that we're really not neglecting those either. That's what makes your community unique. That's what makes your space, or will make your space special. So this is just an example. This is the Randolph Center again. And the COA there had asked for a greenhouse. And that's something we never had done before, but also haven't done since. So super unique to that community.
Okay. So I'll call.
Another thing I wanted to just mention as a possible strategy as we go forward is we have the two sites to kind of do loading studies to see what their capacity is and if they can hold the program that we want. But another approach we might consider, and we can do it concurrently, it's not either or, is to look at what you get for certain sizes and price points, if you will. So this is just an example of, we had looked at 3 different size centers. We looked at a 12,000 square foot center, we looked at a 17,000 square foot center, and we looked at a 23,000 square foot center. And there are costs associated with each. And you can have those as kind of, you know, in the back of your mind, if another site became available, for example, you would know what would fit on there and whether that was acceptable to you or not. Cost is obviously going to be, I don't want to say a concern, but it's important to understand costs, budgets, limitations in this process. And that might mean that a conception of what the square footage you had initially, it might change. So programming next steps, I think, is talking about right sizing spaces. So identifying you want a multi-purpose room, how many square footage, what's the minimum square footage it can be, what's the maximum square footage it can be, what's the most popular event, for example, you have during the year, how many people does that attract, therefore how large does the center be, so the multi-purpose room need to be. So it's really kind of trying to understand exactly what size spaces you need for your center. Establishing priorities, like I said, you started to do this a little, but really trying to understand what are nice to haves, what are needs to haves. And then scaling the program, as I mentioned, maybe looking at doing small, medium, and large center at different price points so you can understand what that gets you.
So when we look at these different sites, the goal is to be very objective and to work with the COA, the different recalc, and other members of the community to look at these sites, evaluate them, and treat each one exactly the same so that there's no bias in the analysis, that folks in your community, when they're voting ultimately on which project they like the best, or if they support the project, they want to know that the material was put together objectively and that the chosen site was done in an objective and not prejudiced manner. When we do those charts, often what we do with recalc and whoever participates in the process is to evaluate key criteria. Here there are 24 criteria. We ranked each of the 4 sites in Falmouth. It's not that the winner takes all, but it's a good way to understand which sites may weigh more favorably than others. And oftentimes, the site that was really most preferred was the high school site in Falmouth. So that's the low score because it had the most 1s and 2s for most desirable. But it didn't ultimately matter because they couldn't get to an agreement with the school committee to use school land for a municipal building. So we had to go back out to site selection, and they selected a site with the white building. It's right next to their community center, and they made a connection between the 2 buildings. And I use this as a good example because they're extremely happy, and I think they're much happier here than they would have been at the high school because it's in town. It's by the Falmouth Cape Cod League baseball fields. There's a lot going on with the community center. And these site selections are sort of like college when your kids were going off to college. That somehow or other, they always end up at the college that's right for them. And somehow or other, you may have a lot of paths that you go on in the site selection, but the right site ultimately comes out of the process. And with that, I'll pass it back to Rachel to just look at your Pleasant Street site quickly.
Forgive me, I'm taking notes as we talk. So this was one concept that we had done as part of the interview to kind of show you how you could max out the Pleasant Street Center. And I know that Guy Knapp had also done a similar study. But our basic take was if you really pushed out to the edge and used all the available land on the site, what could that get you? It could get you what I'm calling a service core addition on the back, which basically would house the supporting spaces for the center. So if most of the program rooms are in the existing shell of your building, then that service core would house, for example, the bathroom, circulation stairs, an elevator, and a larger commercial kitchen that would then support a larger multi-purpose room. This is premised on the idea that this renovation would be basically gutting the interior of the existing center. So that's a rather presumptive approach, right? That should be discussed with you and also other members of the town. But that's how you're able to really create the most efficient use of the existing building. So we did a few site plans about how that could enhance the site. You lose a little parking in this concept. And it requires moving curb cuts, which is also something that needs to be explored further. But it allows you to have an interesting connection to Pleasant Street itself, where you could possibly provide a ramp that allows you to get from Pleasant Street down to the parking lot, create a better connection between those two elevations. You could conceivably have a nice little pocket park or little courtyard there, which might be another, complement the patio that you have that's so lovely and well used. Introduce some more planting and vegetation. You could have gardens there if you wanted to. So just really maxing out the use of that space. And then the interior of the space, as I mentioned, really it's looking at putting all the program spaces in the existing building for the most part. And then the support spaces would be in that bar in the back. And it gives you some, so I think the multipurpose room you had in your study, you said it was about 700 square feet. And when I had just counted tiles, I think I got something a little larger. So confirming it, but that multipurpose room would be anywhere between 1,500 and 1,800 square feet. So that's a good size. But I also think that might not be large enough for you. Most centers that we see that are similar, that are from similar size populations, similar size towns, are about 2,500 square feet and larger. So that's something to think about. And Joel's gonna, go on, Project.
We put all these programs together. We look at the site. We do building plans so you can see what things could develop into the building or what things may be left out. And then the idea is to put together what are your construction costs on the left, call those hard costs, and then what are all your other costs, permits and approvals, design fees, testing, your owner's project manager, all the things that are not physical elements that end up being the building or furniture and that inside the building, comparing those two. And then you can see here is Falmouth, we ranked those sites on their criteria, and then here they are, the same sites ranked on their cost. And what is important to these are there things displaced that have to be replaced elsewhere if you use part of a site. So like if we do the site by the ice arena, are there any things that might happen there that impact the arena that have to, or collateral impact costs that have to be addressed? But again, it's this very organized and methodical analysis and comparison of cost and options. The other day, when we met with Recalc, there's talk about, well, some of the Recalc members and others, some talk about putting operational costs in the equation. So that can be cost of staffing, that can be the cost of maintenance and ongoing programs. So when voters go to vote for the project, they know not only what it's going to cost for construction, but what's the difference in cost today between what Human Services is spending on Council on Senior Center versus what you might pay for in the future. So I wanted to just close with, it's not just us. We need to work with you on the unbiased analysis of alternative sites. That's really a collaborative process. We didn't get into the energy and operational impact too detailed, but what I wanted to point out is that the energy efficiency of the building is important for the climate, but it's also important because it makes your operational cost less expensive than an inefficient building. And then it's really difficult to develop consensus, and doing that without people feeling compromised is really the third piece. I think Rachel might want to chime in on seniors are not only seniors. And what we mean by that is the senior center is really changing, and that gym is just one of the changes, but that cafe is another. They're becoming much more sort of modern facilities that are like almost take on certain characteristics of hotels or coffee shops or commercial type buildings that offer different programs, and they're really focused on the delivery of services, and it's our job to make the community understand that they're really delivering services and those services are valuable to everybody in the community. And then Rachel, yeah.
Just to piggyback on that, the newer paradigm shift, if you will, for senior centers that Joel was speaking of, I think one big characteristic of the newer centers is that they're very food oriented, right? You have a commercial kitchen, often you're fabricating or producing food on site. You have really sophisticated meals programs. And I just wanted to say that most of the centers that we worked in the last couple of years, prior to their, constructing their new building, did not have a really sophisticated food service program. In other words, they were starting from scratch. So that's something that I think is completely, it's a new thing. And part of this process will be helping you understand what that food service will look like and what it requires.
And then that chart that Rachel showed you that showed different sizes of buildings, that's really intended to help us also determine on what the appetite of the voters is for spending on this project. So by offering a range of costs, we can flush out, what's that sweet spot that we think will be supported. And I think just in conclusion, I said, that you always end up with the right site no matter what. As much as we know about senior centers, there's stuff that we don't know is going to happen in 20 years or 10 years. And you're always surprised to go back to the building and see how it's used. Just who would have known that pickleball would take off the way it did and impact sports and senior centers the way it has. So thanks for listening. I hope that wasn't too long.
No, I don't think it was. It's a good base of information for the people in this room as we move forward. It's really important for us to feel that BHNA has our best interests in their heart. And I think your presentation has shown us that. But now, if let's take another, I don't know, 5. We could probably let's see how many questions we have, and then whether you have questions for us too. Let's anybody in this room. Okay, Karen.
So thank you for that presentation. Really informative, really, you've done a lot of great work. I do wonder though, and it's great, Mark, that you're here. We have an RFI for that Simons Way parcel of land that for a public-private partnership. I'm just wondering how that fits in to all of this.
Karen, are you addressing that to me?
Anyone that can answer it.
I would take a stab. I don't know if I can. So what the board has expressed, the select board has expressed, is wanting to kind of figure out what the best uses are for all the property in town. So the one option that we got through the RFI was that partnership, and looking forward to hearing more about it. That's not saying that that's the only option that's going to take place there. Or even the possibility of multiple stories and all sorts of other different ideas. So I think what's happened is, number one, we found out that, here's one option for public-private partnership. Maybe there are others, but this land may have a lot of different uses that the town wants to utilize. One of them could be for the Center for Active Living, and it could be a Center for Active Living and other things. So not giving you a real answer other than to say, I think we need to understand what our options are before deciding which ones we want to bring forward to town meeting and to the voters. And I think this approach that we're taking here, looking at different sites, with Simons Way being one of them, is the way to do it. And, some constraints we may run into at other locations, maybe better addressed at Simon's Way. And I think what Joel and Rachel showed was that we need as a community to take a look at those, decide how much money we'd be willing to spend as a community on these things. And that's going to guide us to where we're going to go and what we're going to do with, I guess, nothing being precluded at this point.
Thank you. You had originally said too, a timeline of April town meeting, but seeing this timeline, this looks like more of an 8-month timeline.
Well, in terms of the full process, it's well past April, but I'm hoping that for April town meeting, we have an update to share with the community.
Right.
Other questions?
Jean Prado has her hand up.
Oh, Jean.
Hi, a quick thing. Can it be, or is it determined prior to going forward if the present senior center is doable to renovate it? I mean, are there restrictions? Is it going to cost too much if we're not up to code, etc. going forward? Do you present a budget or a preliminary cost added to the buildings?
Yeah, so in generally speaking, renovation costs are more expensive than new construction costs. Part of that existing condition survey or assessment would be to identify any, I don't want to call them deal breakers, but something that might be very expensive to correct. Let's say that you had a big structural issue in the basement. I'm just making things up. That might be cost prohibitive to renovating it. So that's something that I would prioritize in this, initial phase to really understand what we're working with there.
John.
Unmute, John. You're on mute.
Okay, I didn't want any background noise. I wonder if the historical nature of the building has a big effect or any effect on what could be done at the Pleasant Street Center.
Yeah, most definitely. And we would want to, work in concert with the Historic Commission to understand what their preferences would be. One thing, I did look at the original application to give it its historic designation, and it didn't know anything particular on the interior of the building, meaning that what was of historic merit was the history of the site, that it's been in Reading for a very long time, and the exterior, the uniqueness of the actual design of the building. So that is a good thing. If it was noting that there were all these architectural features on the inside of the building, that would be, for us, we'd slam on the brakes and say, okay, it's going to be harder to do anything to the interior. But most definitely, the historic nature of the site of that building is going to be something that we need to take into consideration, whatever we do to it or don't do.
Anybody else?
You always come back to parking.
Marilyn.
They'll come back to parking.
Sure. 2 points, actually. At a conference I was just at, I learned that I think it was Waltham, but I could be wrong, but in one large community, they found that only 27% of those over age 60 actually even have a driver's license. So it's much more transportation than parking when you take that into consideration. Mark, we agree on something. This is a rare moment for all of us. I'm just curious, and maybe you'll get to it, and I don't expect we'll get into any detail in it, but what I'm most curious about right now is process and how we can help, how you'll work with the town, what works for you. You've got tons of great experience you bring to the table on this, and I just curious about the project plan and how you approach it, and at a very high level, not in any detail at this point in this meeting, obviously.
I think just generally speaking, I think it's good to have consistent routine meetings. And I say meetings plural. I mean, I could envision having 1 to 2 meetings a week, really to work with the aggressive schedule that we've set out. And it's really identifying who the stakeholders are. But I think what I'm getting at with 2 meetings is you'd have one inward facing meeting and then one outward facing meeting. So the inward facing meeting would be more collaborative, more problem solving. The outward facing meeting would be kind of to say, okay, you gave us this challenge, we took it home, sharpened our pencil, and these are some of the options we've come up with. But really setting regular meetings to help create that consistency, especially with outreach to the public, so that they, know consistently when they can listen in on a Zoom meeting, for example. And then peppered with that is also deadlines like town meeting, those kind of bigger presentations, if you will.
Thank you. Do our guests have any question? Mary Ann or Nora, who came in? Do you have any questions?
For me, it's a bit of general information and kind of a introduction to all of this. So no, Nancy, I don't have questions at this point, but I do find a lot of this information very helpful.
All right. John's hands back up.
Oh, John.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with Reading, but I do have just a quick question for Joel or Rachel. Did your company have anything to do with the Marshfield project?
No, we didn't.
Okay, I'm just asking because I've been told that's the most interesting scenario out there. That's
Yeah,
something
no, I've
ReCal
heard
can
the-
maybe look into at some point.
Yeah,
I-
certainly. Yeah, I know you visited a ton of centers. I'm happy to revisit centers with you. Or you say go visit a center to do it on my own. I'm happy to do it either. But yes, I agree. Those kind of set visits are really informative, getting us outside our box. I know our centers very well. I don't know perhaps what else is going on as well as I should.
Do you have any questions for us that we might be able to not get into the detail of it, but on a high level?
I did want to know, related to visiting centers, which centers you guys have visited. I know I saw some pictures that led me to, understand which ones you guys had been to from presentations, but I don't think I ever saw a list that said we visited these 16 spaces. I don't know if that's something you recall off the top of your head.
It was more of a recalc project.
Gotcha.
Some of the people on the COA also participated in the visits, but it's recalc that it is the
Summarized.
keeper of the information.
Yeah, and I have the list, Rachel. I can send it to you tomorrow if that's helpful. But
because I want to see which, it's just,
Yeah,
I want to see which ones you liked and what was it about them that you liked, especially if they were our centers. Because I feel like I said this in the recalc meeting, but like if you told me, for example, you visited Needham and you loved that multi-purpose space, well, I could say, okay, I know exactly what the proportions of that space are. I know, everything specific about that to, help you get to your program, for example.
Yeah, we did go to Needham last month and it was awesome. I would love something like that for us.
If I could just add, I think Rachel and Joel, I think that you in the kind of the master packet of stuff that was sent out, the most updated version of that, and Jenna, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you've got a summary of all of the data of all the centers that Recalc visited.
Okay.
And a summary of what we learned. We had a standard form that we use, so you can see all of the centers, the questions, the answers, all that stuff should be there. And if it's not, let me know. Jenna, do you know, did that kind of master list go out? Master list of documents.
So it's like a spreadsheet you're thinking, or it was like a form, like individual forms filled out for each center?
Oh, so it's collated into a spreadsheet.
Okay.
Yeah, John Sasso's the one that sent everything out, so that would probably be a good question for him.
So if you don't have an email from John yet, we'll talk and you'll get it pronto. But it should be kind of everything that we've done. We gave you lots of stuff, and there were 3 or 4 things that weren't included, and our goal is to get you those 3 or 4 that weren't. That's one of them.
Yeah, and and related to that too, like if Recalc went and visited these spaces, the COA, are there spaces that you guys have particularly found, to be successful, inviting,
Is it any? Yeah, I think that now that, we've had this conversation, we can dive into it a little bit deeper, because I think there's some information and some data that COA also produced that might be helpful. So. Yeah. Oh, Marilyn.
I was just going to say, related to that, if there's homework you'd like us to be working on, I'm being bold and offering this, but it occurs to me in terms of asking us questions, if there's something you'd like us to pull together for you that's germane to what we do as Council on Aging, please feel free to bring it up, bring it to our attention as well. I mean,
Yeah,
I think
sure.
you kind of just did it and saying, you know, maybe there are other centers, and there are. I know I visited just on my own before Recalc even existed, a whole bunch of centers and things like that. And we have been doing things like that as one-offs, so.
Joan has a
question too.
Yeah, oh, Joan.
Yes, I have a quick question about finance. In Falmouth, they have trouble getting financial. Did you have anything to do with that?
They have trouble doing what?
Getting finances for the senior center in Falmouth.
I'm not aware of that.
Tracking to get it constructed or for like their staff?
No, to come up with actual money to start it and do it.
No, Falmouth was lucked out, really. They did things before the COVID pandemic. And that building was constructed, believe it or not, for $7.7 million.
Wow.
I know.
It's ridiculous to compare that to today. But Falmouth has a big group of seniors. It's a big town. And what was really helpful is between selectmen and the working group, they had a feeling for what the sum that the voters could afford. I don't know, it was really pretty intuitive, but they felt it was somewhere between $7 and $8 million. So we aimed for that threshold, and the project was approved at that. Extremely lucky. That project would be more than twice today, just a few years later. Yeah.
Okay. Their senior citizens are about the same size as ours.
Yeah. One of the reasons I highlighted Falmouth was because I assumed you guys had not seen that one since it's on this now.
I have a summer house in Falmouth, so I've seen it.
Oh, there you go.
And I knew there were questions about finance.
Yeah. Are there any other questions?
Mark.
Questions, Mark?
Actually, a comment if I could. So, folks,
We have like about 3 more minutes.
I will contain myself. So, Joan, important question, and folks, and Nancy T, you can kind of chime in on this hopefully also. One of the reasons why we picked BHNA is that they have a lot of experience with the different kinds of potential centers, but also in working with communities to help us figure out what are some of the things that we need to do to make sure the community is aware of this. They see that we're being very diligent in our approach and that they're willing to support it at whatever level, we kind of determine. And this is literally the village discussion that I was going to bring up here, right? We as a village are going to need to do this and figure out how, and that it's a priority, and that some money is going to need to be spent, and we'll see what kind of those options are. But that's really going to be our job, is to make sure that not only do we understand what we need, but to work with the community to have them supportive of all these efforts and figuring out what it is. And this is just the start. But I wanted to emphasize one of the reasons that for me personally, BHNA was a really good choice for us, aside from the great work that they've done, is their community involvement also. Not that they're going to go out and hold up the signs and things for us, but in understanding how successful projects take place and helping us understand that. And I think that's going to be really important for us.
Okay.
And Jackie, you have a question, and this will be our last question of the evening.
No, I don't have any questions.
Oh, I thought your hand was up.
Oh, it's a cursor.
Somebody's.
Oh.
I think it's,
Yeah.
I
didn't see that either.
Well, we'd like to thank you very, very much for joining our meeting tonight and providing us with a wealth of information. I think you're spot on. And I think that and I hope you are going to enjoy working with us, and we are going to enjoy working with you. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, well, thanks for the time.
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good. Wow, that was good. So we're gonna squish the rest of our meeting into the next hour and maybe a little bit more, but not much more. So first on the agenda is Chris with the Elder and Human Services.
Yep, we had another good month. As you can see, some highlights in November. We brought in Peabody Essex Museum. They had our art historian out. We had lunch and learn. We took a mini Encore bus trip to Encore. We had ornament painting with intergenerational with recreation. We had game night with Bridging Generations of high school students. We had a great event with Brad Jones and Thanksgiving dinner at Hillview last month in November. It was a really well attended, great event. I think everyone really liked it. And then we had our first Let's Get Digital with Kevin. I'm not going to pronounce that last name. Last month, it was a pretty big hit. She's really focusing on iPads and iPhones. So that was good too. Our numbers are great. As you can take a look, they're exactly where we still higher than I was originally expecting. So you can see just down at the bottom, total people served, 3422.
The ornament event was excellent too.
Yeah. Yep.
Thanks for coming.
So you can see duplicated last for November 3422, unduplicated was 716. So the unduplicated continues to go up, which is really good. You can get a sense of fiscal year to date, 902 is the interactions we've had in the 1, 2, 3, 5 months. I did calculate from January to the end of November, and we've had just over 30,000 interactions. So from January, so that was really good. Coming up, we have big news this month is we had our volunteer coordinator start on December 4th. She has not, she's still coming back. That's good. So we want to welcome Janet Dubow. She has been great. She's really just jumped in. She is part-time, 19 hours a week. She's going to be there Monday through Thursday. Typically right around 9 to, it kind of fluctuates a little bit. 9 to 2, 9 to 2:30, 9 to, but she will be there throughout the week. We had our Pom Poms dance class start last week. Huge success. Thank you, Rosemary, for mentioning that and getting that going. And thank you to Anna for taking it, and running with it. So it was a huge class. We had 20 some participants. So good about that. Yeah. George. A lot of fun. Movie and pizza we have coming up on December 28th. Birthday lunch on the 7th. That doesn't seem right. I don't think. Oh, we had the birthday lunch. All right, holiday luncheon on the 20th. We are good news with, I got an update with facilities. Couple things really quickly is, yes, as Rosemary mentioned, we had some water in the basement this morning. We were all kind of surprised it happened. I have to say facilities has been, what's that?
Maybe the wind did it?
We're not sure. Everyone was a little bit surprised because facilities has been out really regularly this summer with all the rain and we have not had an issue. And all of a sudden it just came in this morning.
It was really pouring last night.
But I do have to say facilities, kudos to them. They were I feel like before I put the phone down, facilities was out there. Joe was out there. DPW was out there. They cleaned it up. They brought out the cleaning crew, disinfected, vacuumed, swept. Blowers are on it right now. So it is taken care of. They're going to be checking into why. They just don't know why. It shouldn't have happened and they're going to look into it. So keep you updated on that. Second air quality test is currently happening right now. They were just out this afternoon. The test equipment is on the second floor right now. It'll be there for 24 hours. They'll move it tomorrow afternoon down to the first floor for 24 hours and then probably come back and throw it in the basement for 24 hours. They may delay the basement as long as it's dried out and everything's okay. They may delay it, just make sure it's all dried out and running properly. But plan is to do air quality test. So that's pretty much the report. Good month.
Chimney liner, tell us about
chimney liner.
Liner.
Chimney liner, think they're getting a quote. They just have to, the company just has to iron out the lift to get up to the top of the chimney. So they're dealing with that, but hopefully once they get the air quality test out, they will get the chimney liner and hopefully should be by the end of this month. They got
Is that going to help the problem?
They do believe, right now the chimney is not lined, so the exhaust can,
Seep through.
seep through. It's not 100%, but it still needs to be lined. So to be able to do this properly, it's something that needs to be done. So they're gonna directly put in 2 liners, goes down to the both chimney attics, units in the attics. So it'll be directly vented right out. Right now, exhaust, because there's no liner, can go down, and there's also when they put the camera down through, they notice some cracks and stuff. My understanding is, when they remodeled, they didn't have to have the chimney liner, but they're gonna put it in now. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they believe it will, but we're not gonna say 100% sure until we get it in there and see what happens.
Has the odor been back? I haven't heard.
Yes.
It comes and goes, yeah, it comes and goes.
Okay.
But we have the air quality test going right now, and then we'll get the liner trimmed. Hopefully, it should be by the end of the year.
Great.
So you're keeping the heat on for
Yes.
24 hours?
Yep, and it's gonna be cold. It's gonna be cold for the next week. It's supposed to be in the 40s, which they've been waiting for. So even this afternoon, it was pretty cold. So.
Great.
I have a comment, please. For those of you who don't know, when Jane Burns was there, we had lots of flooding at the center. And she did major renovation work down there.
Oh, yeah.
Rugs were lifted up. The baseboards were taken down. We had a company there probably for a month, I don't know. The center is wet. It has, the foundation is stone wall, it leaks. The windowsills, there's a couple of windowsills down there, they hold the water like a bucket, that leaks. And it's always been wet. It's something to think about going forward if you think you want to put money into that building for renovation. It needs heating, wiring, plumbing, electrical work. It's an old building that needs a lot of work. We can't even control the heat in there. And moving the reception desk, I'm sure if you make a floor plan, you can move it, but going forward, that has to be a confidential area because it's constantly interrupting any type of programs going on there. And it's not right for people attending the center, and it's not good for the receptionists either. So that's a major area. My vote is for a new building.
Well,
Yeah.
I think, I think that, Chris will, have that, I'm really impressed with the way we've moved forward on the odor problem. And I think as we come up, we've got water in the basement, whatever, Chris will see to it. We're gonna move on to the next topic.
I just wanted to give positive feedback on programming.
Are we-
I made for 10 seconds. Let us not be so
Running a
on
tight
schedule that we skip substance. Having retired and now used some services, I just want to thank the Pleasant Street Center. When my car has been dead, I took the little bus to go grocery
yeah.
shopping and it was a lifesaver. I went on the trip to the casino and it was tremendous fun, both really well organized, really fun,
Yeah.
really appreciated. I'm glad I have time now that I can start to partake, but just wanted to let you know. I meant to write you a note and I haven't gotten a chance, so I figured I'll do it publicly. Thank you.
Joe does really well with transportation.
Yeah,
No.
but thank you.
You can call last minute, and we almost, everyone that we know of, if they call, I don't think we've missed a ride, so, which is really good. So kudos to Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody notice I had my hand up long before anybody spoke?
No.
No,
I had a question for Chris.
You know what? We need the hands to ding or something.
Oh, yeah.
you have a question, John?
Fine.
Yeah, the question, Chris, on the odor with the gas, is it considerably less than it used to be? Because 2 Fridays in a row between 9 and, between 8:30 and noon, there was no smell at all.
I think,
But
with that,
Chris, during Cribbage, there's been an odor.
Yeah, hard to say.
It comes on when the heat comes on.
So it's really hard to say. I think it has shifted a little bit since, especially since they cleaned the system just a couple months ago, right before winter. I do think it's not quite as bad, but it's still there. But I think I have to say, facilities has been amazing we have been tackling each problem as quickly as we can, and they have been really responsive. Like today, they were out for the water, so we didn't have to miss a beat with any programming or anything. So the nice thing is we're moving along with odor and everything. So kudos to facilities and like I said, DPW.
Okay, ARPA presentation.
Sure. So I presented the same presentation that I did to the COA. So there shouldn't be any surprises as far as the information goes. I'm not sure if anyone had a chance to watch the presentation to the select board. Thank you. I think it was well received. I think that the main question that keeps coming up is sustainability. How do we sustain the programming moving forward? How do we sustain the staff members once ARPA runs out? And we have several strategies that we're discussing moving forward. We're fact-finding with Recalc, visiting all the other centers and getting some really good information and data on how to move forward. We have the Friends of 60+ right now, and a lot of those groups are raising Andover raised like $7,000 at their health fair last month. And that was run by the Friends of group, and it all went back to Elder Services. So that alone, having that is going to be instrumental in the sustainability moving forward. We have the trust funds, and then we also have some other strategies. So I was chatting with Nancy a little bit today about obviously us meeting together as staff, Chris, and maybe a couple others as we get into the new year to talk about some of those strategies. And maybe even it would be helpful if Mark was there. I know his plate's kind of full, but that would be great. So once we get a little bit more data from Recalc and have those strategies kind of set in stone as a team, we can bring some more people together and get on the same page with sustainability and how we're going to operate and all that. And it seems like BHNA can also be a tremendous help in that arena. Even the meal program that they talked about. So yeah, I'm really excited, and I think it was well received overall by the select board. Mark? Yeah, okay, great. And Chris was obviously there every step of the way supporting, and he was also at the budget presentation. And I mean, the work that he and his team have done over the past year, Chris being completely new and just jumping into the role, has been really tremendous. So, and thanks to all of you for your support as well.
And you also.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said this at an event last week, but Jenna was there. You know, a lot of the things, especially I do and we do at the center, you know, we can't do without Jenna's support. So I definitely appreciate it.
Well, thanks. I mean, I know it's not an easy job at times, and there's so many different parts. And yeah, we're lucky to have so many people that care right now about elder services. I feel like it's predominantly the black sheep in a lot of towns. So even just having Mark as an advocate too on the select board, and John Sasso and all the members of Recalc, it just seems like everyone in this room and Recalc and a lot of the members on the select board are just really supportive of the feasibility study and moving us into the future. So it's really exciting. So.
Thank you. It was an excellent presentation. Yeah.
Just a quick, I think I asked this last time too, and forgive me if I heard the answer and don't remember. So I know that the funds are allocated. How about the actual encumbering of funds? Is there a timeline that we have to work with?
Yes, so we have to encumber them by the end of 2024, and that means that they have to actually be wrapped up in like a PO.
Yep.
So.
And we're on track.
Yes, yep.
Thank you.
And as of today, the feasibility study went in. And I pulled the new report, and there's about $394,000 remaining in ARPA funds after the feasibility study was taken out. So I think we're well on our way to spending that within the next couple of years for sure.
So when you need a purchase order, can it be dated the next year? If you make purchase orders This is 2024. We have to use all the funds. Can we have a purchase order going into 2025?
Yep.
So we can use,
We'll have everything earmarked by the end of 2024 for 25 and 26.
great. Yes, we won't lose any of that. That's wonderful.
Can I just?
That's the goal.
I did look at the ARPA chart that you say 50%. And it looks like all of the guest speakers that you're bringing in are very affordable. I noticed the fees that they're being charged is minimal.
Overall, like the people that we're bringing in, the meals, overall, things are not bad.
Yeah.
We're trying to stay cognitive of, what we're doing. And I've said this before, trying to think long term. So, we're not trying to be outrageous on things. And so when ARPA's gone, we're gonna be like, that's $1,000 or $2,000. No, that doesn't.
I was impressed with how affordable the speakers are.
Yeah. And we're getting quality speakers in, not just from this area, but also from the Boston area. So.
Awesome. Kudos. Recalc update. John? You've got 5 minutes.
Take it off of me, John.
You're on mute.
Well, it may take me 5 minutes
There's
to
a minute right
get
there.
off of mute.
You put your hand down.
Recalc had a meeting scheduled for November. It got canceled and rescheduled for for December 19th. So we really haven't met since the last time the council met. The only thing that's really been going on that I can recall is going and visiting the sites. Chris and Jenna have been spending a lot of time trying to set up meetings. It appears from what both of them have reported is that not a whole lot of places are that receptive to giving up enough of their time for that. Wakefield, Burlington, Andover, and Needham have been visited, and I understand we're waiting for Woburn to return a survey. And I don't have anything else unless Mark wants to add something. He's shaking his head no.
Oh, good, John. Thank you.
All right, so we're
Okay.
getting closer to being back on schedule.
We are.
We're ahead now.
We're ahead, yeah.
I like this space.
Well done. Yes.
Marilyn, want to update us on the
Well, I can
your
fast forward us
participation?
right away. We have not met since the last Council on Aging meeting. Board of Health ran a survey, collected their data, and the consultant did a first pass at data, and she has gotten some more responses since then, so was updating the numbers and updating her report. And we are meeting also on the 19th of December, and at that point, we'll be looking at whatever is being proposed as the final report. So at that point, I'll have something to say.
But one of the things also that you told me was that not all of the questions, but some of those questions that were asked may end up providing the a good data with for the 60+
Oh, there's
community here in
definitely,
Reading.
there's definitely interesting stuff we will learn about seniors and the
Yeah.
amount of interest there is in the community. I don't want to go out on a limb on what it is because the numbers are
No.
being adjusted, but there is interest in an age-friendly community. There's a lot of awareness of issues with mental and behavioral health in the community of all ages. There's a lot of people who have caregiver responsibilities in the community, which is not all senior, but probably to a great degree involves seniors. I mean, you could be a caregiver for a disabled child or something, for example. We don't know yet, but all of that will come out. But there definitely is insight into things that are of interest to senior needs in the community. And until we have stuff, all I know is it got mentioned as they saw trends, but it could change in the data, but I don't think that that's going to change much. So interesting stuff coming from that study, I believe.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad you were the liaison for that.
Really quickly, Jenna reminded me, the library is having a focus group for Reading seniors coming up
Yes.
either on the 13th or 14th.
14th.
Is
Do you
it
know
on the
what the date
14th?
is? Could it be?
13.
13.
13th.
13th.
Yeah, but I think they're having multiple ones. It sounds like they're having them in multiple community rooms.
So it's,
Really?
I guess it's this week, the 13th from 6 to 8.
No,
There's a Zoom option.
I got an invite for one that's at 7.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely
We didn't
seven.
get an update on the information on when it was gonna be, but
Yeah,
it's important that if folks want to go, that they go.
Jenna, I
exactly, they-
received an email today that says it's at 7 o'clock for sure.
yeah.
Okay.
They also recently put out a questionnaire about use of outside state space at the library.
Yep.
What is it? What was that?
The use of outdoor space at the library.
Okay.
They're doing a renovation
okay.
for like the landscaping.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's-
Sorry, I didn't know where that fit in, but I just wanted to,
Yeah.
felt like a good time.
Yeah.
That's good because it's really important that we have, people there that are informed and well aware of what's going on in Reading and the issues that are being experienced. So we're sending out that same message that we need more space, we need accessibility, we need inclusivity, we need XYZ, whatever it might be, either from your own personal experience or from, your professional experience. But it's specifically focused on Reading seniors.
Right, but it's
So-
not at all clear as to what the focus is.
No.
Given that it's coming from diversity, what I'm kind of hoping it's about is what are the segments? It was on the slides from the consultants. They said, there's not, elder doesn't really mean, I forget how they word it.
Senior.
Elder doesn't really have any meaning. There are many varieties and different needs and interests. And
Yeah.
I'm personally hoping, but I haven't got a clue where this is headed.
Yeah.
But that's a goal of it, is to start to understand the segments, so we're not just trying to lump everybody, oh, you're an elder now. So, but who
Yes.
knows? It
Yeah,
might
no,
happen.
I think that is the goal.
Okay, I hope so.
I was gone from the last committee meeting, but I'm on the DEI assessment committee.
Okay,
So the purpose of these focus groups, and I know they interviewed staff individually too before they went into these focus groups. So they spoke to a lot of folks at the senior center and myself, and we expressed the need for our seniors to be more inclusive, like the accessibility that's lacking at the current center, the space that's lacking at the current center. So I think they want to pick the brains of the senior community.
we'll find out.
And
My
yeah.
concern was if it's 10 people, I think there are probably far more than 10 segments. So even if they manage to get 10 distinct segments represented, it's a start.
Sure.
I'm not criticizing it.
Yeah, no,
I'm just
definitely.
hoping this is the direction, which is.
Yeah, definitely. And if you go and it's something that you didn't expect, I'm sure that they'd take your feedback
Yeah,
and
no, I'm
Another
open to
group.
anything.
Yeah,
We're
no,
just not
yeah.
speculating what might this be about. And
yeah.
That was mine, that it's more about diversity.
Yeah, I don't know the exact questions
Yeah,
that they'll be
we'll find
asking
out.
you. No.
We'll find out.
So what about us asking questions as far as availability for seniors to use the different rooms there?
What I would do is I would go on whatever night it is this week and, ask questions. Ask.
Because a lot of times you go to the library, the rooms downstairs are empty. We certainly could use that big room more often.
You just.
Oh, yeah,
sign
the
up for
community
the
room.
Space.
Yeah.
You go to the librarian and you ask to sign up for the space if you want to pursue.
Are they open to having seniors use it frequently?
You have to come up with them for what?
Yeah, for what?
Maybe we
Whatever.
can talk about this later, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
The library's been really good at letting us use their space. Wellness Wednesdays, taxes coming up next year and so on.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that's right.
Are the-
Program will be there.
Are the focus groups, it sounded like I heard someone say, you can go if you're interested. I'm assuming the focus groups are not open meetings. These are research things, but I don't know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
It did
That-
in the letter that was sent out, it said that you needed to submit your name to Sudeshna, and then there were 4 other people.
Well, that was to participate, but I'm assuming people can't go in and just watch, but I don't know. I have no idea. We'll find out.
yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah.
Is it listed on the town?
But
meeting?
if anybody's interested, you
Yeah.
can email Sudeshna.
Yeah.
And she'll be able to, let
Yeah.
you know the details and if there is more space.
Yeah.
So,
I'm excited they're doing it.
yeah. You can never have too much information.
No, it's wonderful.
Mark, want to talk to us about the select board?
Well, it's this group of 5 people that get together every 2 weeks.
You can also say no.
So I guess the biggest updates would be that Jenna came in and presented the budget for elder services, obviously with a lot of support from Chris. And I think that went well in terms of making sure that the board understands what's going on. And also the discussion about sustainability that you brought up, Jenna, was kind of part of that presentation also. What we're looking for right now is we're getting all the budget presentations from all the departments in the town in preparation for kind of finalizing all of this the early part of next year, so it comes forward to April town meeting. Of course, the new complication for us is that Fidel is going to be leaving us at the end of this month. So we have appointed Matt Cronellis as the interim town manager while we do the search, and the search committee actually is going to be starting interviews as early as 2 weeks from now. So that's moving ahead quickly. Our goal would be, if we could, to have hired someone to join us end of February and to come as close to that timeline as we possibly can. So that's the select board side. If I could just reach back for 1 second to back to to your discussion, John. The one other thing that is going on is that Recalc had as one of its clear goals to make sure that we present all of the information and work that the town either has done itself or had outside groups like UMass Gerontology doing, and getting it to BHNA. And we did do that. It sounds like there might be a couple pieces that are missing. I'll make sure that that's done. But that was kind of one of the key ingredients we wanted to get to them, so that they don't have to redo the stuff that we have already done, and that they can figure out what's most important to do as next steps. And it was a great kind of transfer of information, just kind of making sure that they're getting what they need. They can see what we've done. And I think that they incorporated some of that into their presentation tonight, which was pretty impressive because that was just a few days ago. So any questions?
I have a question. Will there be a luncheon for Fidel before he leaves?
There, as of right now, is not anything formal that I am aware of.
Yeah, the staff is just having a little send off for him during a holiday party.
Maybe we
for
can
staff,
invite him to the
but
center when we have a luncheon and have him come.
yeah,
Maybe
Yeah, we could think of something. We could
you
maybe,
can talk to him.
yeah, we can talk, and I think it would be nice if the COA board did something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll leave it up to you all. But yeah, we can definitely invite him to the center whenever you'd like, and whatever you want to be.
We'll need to make a motion tonight for some money to fund something then. So we won't be meeting again in time.
Unanticipated agenda item.
For funding on cloud.
Something more, it'll cost money, we need to approve,
Yeah.
that's all.
It's an unanticipated agenda item.
And especially it's time limited, so yeah.
Yeah, does someone want to make a motion?
To approve the funding,
Yes.
but can't we just take it out of the ARPA fund?
We should probably pull it from Burbank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
I think it would be a little
I
bit,
don't know what's more.
but I don't think it's going to be a whole lot, so I would just pull it from Burbank just to keep ARPA out of it.
How much?
Yeah, we should know how much we're voting on.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
yeah.
need to- How much have we typically spent like on a lunch?
It depends on when you eat. Macaroni is cheaper than
If we eat something that people like.
Fat Larry's.
Well, and how many people do you want at the luncheon? Obviously the COA board, and then like fill the room.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking sort of like a coffee, people could come other than just.
Yeah.
Coffee.
I think so too.
Pastry.
Yeah, what I would do is,
Yeah, coffee and pastries.
Yeah.
yeah, coffee and pastries, I would just do up to $200.
I move that we approve up to $200 from Burbank to fund an event to do a coffee or something similar to.
A goodbye
To
card.
wish Fidel well. as he goes on.
I
But-
second it. We all second it.
Okay.
You gotta take the vote.
Discussion.
Yeah.
I did already
When
discussed
will
it.
this be? 'Cause that'll be.
Should be decided. We can figure that
We'd
out.
have to talk to him about his availability.
Well,
yeah.
He's going away too,
Yeah.
so
I know.
On vacation?
Mhm.
Oh,
going to Nicaragua.
oh,
Oh,
On
cool.
the way to Chelsea.
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, let's take the vote. Joan,
Yes.
Rosemarie,
Yes?
Karen,
Yes.
Sure.
Karen Janowski.
Yes.
John Parsons,
Yes.
Karen Panett,
Yes.
Jean Prado,
Yes.
Marilyn Shapley.
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
T.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
voted in favor of
Mhm.
taking $200 from Burbank to celebrate Fidel.
If that's not enough money, how do we apply for
It
more?
won't be enough money. We can't. But we'd have to have a special meeting.
It said 200. It's
200.
To bake ourselves.
Coffee.
Okay, do it. Baked for decades, I'm done.
Okay. Small correction. You referred to me as a liaison to Board of Health and I'm not.
Oh, okay.
There is no liaison from us to them. I just was asked to join their committee. So
Okay,
I'm happy to share what I know, but.
okay, good.
All right.
All right, so then we get to the part of our agenda where we formed I'm going to call them teams. So we don't call them work groups. The teams that have volunteered to do some activities. And one was newspaper outreach. That was Karen and Marilyn. Any updates on that?
Marilyn wrote an excellent letter that really detailed, I just reviewed it.
Hopefully everyone read
Excellent
it.
writer. But I think it does an outstanding job detailing all of the physical limitations of the building. To me, it's even more impactful than the video. Did everybody have a chance to review it?
Marilyn.
No, it's in the packet.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
was trying to
really an
balance it.
outstanding letter.
Yeah, my thought on letters to the editor, I don't usually read letters to the editor, so, but I've been pulled into writing a number over the last year, so, my thought on letters to the editor is it should be to state a position that's either to take issue with something that's in the paper or to raise an issue that's not been recognized by the paper at this point. And so I was trying to just recognize what the town has done as a whole and to really applaud the progress that we have made in getting to the point of hiring the people that we've hired to do the feasibility study. I think that's momentous considering where we were, say, 2 years ago. So I wanted the letter to applaud it. But in the same token, because this may cause some people to wake up to for the first time to the fact of, my goodness, we're moving forward on something. I had no idea the town was doing this. So I wanted to use the opportunity to also juxtapose it to a summary of the major issues and why this is so important. So that was my thinking in structuring this. Nancy had commented she thinks it's too long. I do think it's long. And the only thing I can see that would readily fall out is maybe the little second paragraph doesn't have to be there. It could be mostly eliminated. But anyway, it would be good if we could the theory is that Karen and I will do a series of these. Maybe one a month is sort of our goal. And it would be nice to have them come out from the Council on Aging, in which case we have to vote that we approve this as a letter from the Council on Aging. So it's up for.
What is the word count? I didn't.
Well, yeah. I'm wondering if maybe we can contact someone at the Chronicle or all of them, as a matter of fact, and see if we can get a column or an article in the paper. I've seen really long letters. I love to read the letters to the editors because they're just fun. But there was one incredibly long letter, and I can read
3 or 4 paragraphs or
Mhm.
short paragraphs, but it would be great if we could get one of the newspapers to actually do like a series on it.
Yes, that would be great.
That would be nice. Does anyone have, I mean, there's the gentleman that was always following me around and now he follows you around.
You mean at the Chronicle?
I
Yeah,
think he's from the Chronicle.
Photo guy? No.
no,
Bob Holmes?
Yes, Bob Holmes. I don't know if he'd be interested in doing that. He might. We could approach him.
yeah. And the other paper, so we have the Chronicle, we have the,
If it's gonna be a series, I don't
Post,
think it's gonna
right.
be coming in multiple papers because they don't share their columns. That's just not how newspapers work. If it's a letter to the editor, we could write to multiple ones. I think the letters I've written before have ended up in one paper, not the other usually.
Are you gonna send this out separately by itself, this letter,
Separately from what?
from like the newspaper? Or is this going just into the newspaper?
Oh, this is meant to be a letter to the editor in newspapers, is what this is meant to be. This isn't.
Did you have a
mailing.
idea?
No, I just, if this was gonna go out by itself, I just wanna make sure we maybe increase the font and.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good case of totally not accessible design and everything
Yeah.
else. The newspaper will take care of that.
What about targeting the town meeting members with some kind of letters like this?
That's a separate topic and we can do it. But first, our mission was to do stuff for the newspaper. So let's first deal with that. Are people comfortable with this as going from a letter from the council to be proposed as a letter to the editor?
Someone want to make a motion?
I'll move that we submit this to the Chronicle and what's the other?
Reading Post?
Reading Post.
Anything else? I'll second it.
Reading Patch?
Any discussion? That's what we've been doing.
Do we want to
Any
add
further discussion?
did we want to add Patch to it?
Patch, I don't know if they take letters to the editor. They're sort
Yeah, I
of
don't know.
blurred.
Yeah.
They don't.
They're more likely to see the letter and comment on it is what I. All right, let's just stick with the Chronicle and the Reading Post for our first one. All right, so we've got a motion proving it. We've got a seconded discussion.
And it was second, we're in discussion. No more discussion? All in favor? Oh, I got it.
We
Joe,
going- Yes.
Rosemary,
Yes.
Karen Fatino,
Yes.
Karen Janowski.
Yes.
John Parsons,
Yes,
Karen Panett,
Yes,
Jean Prado,
Yes,
Marilyn,
Yes,
Nancy T.
Yes.
Okay,
all right.
all right.
And I can follow up on that one, and then we can talk later about when we'll meet. Get some,
Yeah.
okay,
Cool.
it's exciting.
Yeah. It's exciting.
We had a rainy Sunday. It was a good project.
What about event planning? That was Karen Panett, Karen Fatino, and Jean Prado. I think we were thinking of something at the center anyways. Any discussions or thoughts on that? From this group?
You don't think the thing for Fidel will do it?
No.
I think now that we have the letter going to the editor and there's more information about what we're doing, I think the 3 of us will get together to plan something that people can actually come to the center to see what it is. So I think right after the holidays and once this information gets out and it's on people's minds, I think we're more likely to tap into the population that we're trying to get to come and see the senior center.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. I put Reading Neighborhood Network on there because Nora, our kind of permanent visitor now. Anything you want to report from the Reading Neighborhood Network?
No, just that we sort of individually have been approaching folks that, actually there was a gathering yesterday. And just sort of highlighting what, if people have even gone to the center, because a lot of them haven't even used the center. So sort of highlighting some of the issues and, we're gonna need your support.
Where was the gathering yesterday?
RNN, Reading Neighbors Network. The group and most of seniors,
How many members are there?
105 maybe.
So it would be interesting to find out, because I understand too, but 105 60+ members that don't typically use the center. It would be
Where did
interesting.
they meet, Nora?
It was a party, it was a Christmas party.
They meet in like people's homes
And
or,
they have little top specialty groups that you can belong to that happen all over. But no, it's interesting that a lot of them there don't go to the senior center. It's a different group. Some do, but there's a lot of new 60+ that don't.
We did just start, they're leading the caregiver support group at the center. That's really been increasing, so we keep really close contact with the group, Joanne Woolridge.
Right.
Tom Model. So we do keep constant communication pretty well with the group.
And a lot of them will come to like coffee that you have about, give an update on something. Some of the members have come to that.
Why don't they come to the center for programs? Are they still working?
Some. But the thing is with RNN, I can't promote it as a, they're not allowed to align with any type of group or organization.
Yeah, but if they participated in programs at the center, they're not aligning with the COA. They're coming to the center and then they would be more familiar with it.
Right, but it's a problem, just like we're, with everybody. Some people aren't aware of the senior center.
Well, Jen explained to us about a year ago when we met with someone, I can't remember who it was. Anyway, she was explaining that the history of it was a group of people that just found that they had different interests from what the typical programming was. This goes back years, maybe even before Jane's time. They just had different interests and said, why don't we form a group? But I think it also was partially, and I could be wrong, meant to be a support network.
Aging in
Yes, an aging in place support network, which has not been what the senior center has typically been, which is not to say we're not there to help individual people who need help, but it wasn't seen as are you keeping your eye on your neighbor? Are they okay? Did they pick up the newspaper today kind of thing? So it evolved out of a different sense of it. There are a lot of them. There's one on Beacon Hill. There are a lot of them.
Yeah, village concepts.
Village concepts, yeah. They're all over the country really at this point.
The
different.
Reading Neighbors Network was formed to support people living in their homes and to help them stay in their homes and give support to one another through a community. Their interest in the senior center is very individual. It's not tied up specifically with RNN. It's specific to individual people wanting to take advantage of the activities at the senior center. So I don't want to confuse the mission of the RNN with people's interest in participation at the senior center, because one is very much more of a group activity, whereas, as I've said, participation at the senior center is something that I, as a person, might individually want to take part in, just as I might want to be a member of the Y or any other organization in town. So I think it can be a little bit confusing in terms of why RNN members are not participating with COA and some of those other activities.
This is also why we keep constant communication with a few of the folks, so we have that line of communication.
What Mary Ann said is basically sums it up. It's a group of people helping individual people that are part of the group. That's what the main focus is.
That's correct, John. Thank you.
I just want to back you up because I knew you were right.
So they're only helping people who are part of their group, but not people in the town who need help.
No.
And there's a membership fee. It's minuscule. It's like $25. So I just joined. They have a newsletter that goes out with some activities. I went to actually Mary Ann's conversation group at the library, and it was interesting. It was about 10 of us sitting around, and we were talking about aging and transitioning, and how do you move into the next phase of your life. So it was an interesting conversation.
I think
Thank
it
you.
brings up the point of acknowledging that there are groups in town that are 60 plus that aren't participating in Pleasant Street Center. Like there's pickleball group. I mean, there's many of us who are 60 plus, and we are not participating in Pleasant Street Center.
So it's like John and Marianne said, it's kind of it's an individual choice. I mean, you gather together anyways, I don't want to repeat myself, but
There is like that, we talk about it too, there is a stigma at times.
yes.
You know, I play pickleball, I'm more active than someone who goes to the senior center. Well, I've seen the people in Zumba and I just thought the pom-pom class was like going crazy. So, you know, I think that the senior center does offer a lot of like active programs and physically active programs that get people moving. But there is
a stigma.
Because we use the word senior. That's why.
Yeah.
Did
So,
you have a question?
I had a comment and then something else to say. So, when I went to the State Council on Aging, conference, Beverly actually looked at the city census and did an outreach project for people who, did not come to the senior center, and used volunteers to gather data to find out, you know, what else they could do. So, and they targeted specific neighborhoods with, you know, why people aren't coming to events.
We're actually meeting tomorrow afternoon on that to
so
start pulling the data
that's
together.
a
to
very good
replicate.
segue into the next topic, which was I captioned it mailing list, but I took the town census and found two people that were able to parse it out and do kind of like that, move it into groups, and so it would be easy for us to manipulate. And one of the things that we want to do is, and this is all coming from that
study
session, that study.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking with Chris about, you know, if we get the names of people that participate at PSC, then
we can pull them out.
We can pull them out. They have a different message than people who don't go. So it will help us target our messages as we move forward.
We can essentially duplicate what Beverly did. North Andover's
Yeah.
done it in a few other communities as well.
Yeah.
So the other thing is that I have all these notes of all the stuff I learned when I was at that 3-day meeting. What should I do with it? Like, I feel like I need to give back. I feel like I have all this knowledge and I'm not sure.
Yeah, if you want to, we
You
could.
were on the agenda,
Oh.
one of the previous meetings, and you weren't able to be here. So can't we put her back on the
Yeah.
agenda?
So then the
things that
next
you've shared.
meeting, and I think it would be helpful, like if you were able to write up this information,
Yeah.
and then we could all take a look at it, and it would be a nice full discussion.
Yeah, a lot of the presentations came with PowerPoints too, that the speakers said that they're more than willing to send to the group or the individual, so we could even just compile those presentations and send them out for.
I was trying to find that actually today. I know people said they were putting it on the site. And I can't find the site.
Yeah.
I was gonna reach out to the people that ran the registration tomorrow and say, where's the site?
Yeah.
Because they usually had 10 or so hard copies, and some of them had mailing lists, and sometimes those worked and sometimes they didn't.
Mhm.
Anyway, so I'm gonna be following up on that tomorrow as well too, because
Yeah,
I
we
think a
can
lot of
add
stuff's out there.
Marilyn's name / Nancy Zimlek / Marilyn. She's
Mhm.
jumped on board.
and Chris and
with
Jen
this
are helping
project.
too on this
Yeah.
project, yeah.
Yeah. So the end result will be a very customized mailing list that we will be able to use, not emails. It's gonna be,
And we'll have
Uh,
maps, where
yeah.
you can see high concentrations of seniors, so
Yeah.
we could do things, because one of the things that I think Beverly did it. Is they did block parties, they knew
Mhm.
this, within a block, there are 10 people over 60, none of whom use the senior center, let's throw a summertime block party, and they did, they came up with funds
Yeah.
for it and supported these things around the town, strategically chosen based on this analysis, so all kinds of stuff we can do with it.
Although I want to make sure as we move forward with a lot of these things, I mean, we kind of discussed two different things, but we have to remember, you know, we have to keep the momentum with talking about a new senior center going. You know, it's not necessarily always getting people into our current senior center.
No, but this could.
No,
But that's also,
But this could be block parties
Yeah.
to do information.
but I'm just saying, you know, keep that in mind. We want to, you know, we're already bringing people to the center. We got to remember, let's make sure we keep the momentum and the talk about the new center going, especially if we want a new center.
Yeah.
Right.
And,
Because if that starts to slow down,
yeah,
it's gonna make it harder for us.
and an expanded targeted mailing list is gonna help us do that.
Yes,
So,
and block parties.
And to the gentleman's point about, making sure we build it for the future. So if we
Yes.
ask the people, why aren't they coming?
Mhm.
Maybe there's programming there that no one's ever thought of.
Yeah, it may also highlight where transportation's really a big issue.
Yes,
When there's
yes, it
just
is, yeah.
nowhere to get from that section of Reading over to the center easily without having to make a reservation and do this and this and this. And so there's a lot we can learn
a
from
lot
it
of good
that
things.
will build on what we need to build for this new senior center.
Jean Prado, RCTV. Jean and I actually have been talking about this. It's in,
Yeah, we have. Well, I'm a little taken back or maybe disappointed. There was some mix up in emails text messages going back and forth. What my thought was, I wanted to request a meeting, and I had mentioned about possibly reviewing the airing time of the video and etc. And I did receive a response finally back, and they thought I wanted to create a new video. And I did let them know.
No wonder they weren't answering.
It wasn't to create a new video. My concern is about getting more airtime for the present video. And then I have thoughts about possibly a new program or a rolling screen to show upcoming dates and events of seniors' activities that are taking place at the senior center. And then and I'm going to request after the holidays to see if, like Nancy mentioned, if we both can get down to the RCTV and review this with them. They're saying that they try to make airtime a minimum of 3 to 4 times per week. Well, I haven't seen our video on, to be honest with you. And they don't have a bulletin board for events to scroll. So if we wanted a dedicated rolling screen or scrolling screen, we would have to get our own team and put it together because they are lacking staffing. They don't have the high school intern base that they had this year, and they're busy with other projects. So I'm going to request to see if we can get down there after the holidays and sit face to face with a couple of the staff down there. Because I think personally, if we could get a rolling screen once a month and just keep it going for those people that don't have major cable, that can see the activities that are happening within the senior center and the events. So, and I would love to see if maybe a new show that could come on, and a student or someone interviewing someone saying, how is the senior center doing? This is our update going forward. So those are my thoughts. Any suggestions, please let me know.
And can I just add, one of the things that Jean and I did was we kind of scrolled through all of the public channels. And there are some towns that are doing some good stuff. And Reading's got 3 channels dedicated to public, local public issues. And if you look at their 3 channels, there's nothing on them. So, so Jean and I are, like Jean said, after the holidays. Oh, I know where I was going with that. So if someone was willing to take a town and kind of like Stoneham has 3 channels and they all look pretty good. And one of the towns I looked at even had a like a TV guide. So you could go in and say at 3 o'clock, this was gonna happen and you could watch it. But Reading doesn't have anything like that.
They don't anymore?
No,
That's programming.
no,
Years ago.
no, yeah. So anybody who wants to jump on that bandwagon.
Are they
would
short
be-
staff? Is that what this is?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know.
As far as like the outreach piece too, I know that there's a lot of projects that have their own website. So I was hoping to create one for Birch Meadow Phase 2 when we get to that point, because we got some feedback that people didn't feel super informed like throughout the process, and the website helps that. So I don't know if we could ask BH+A if we could have a website dedicated to the progress of the feasibility study, or if that's
Would
or
that be something the town would do on our town website?
I thought I saw
Recalc
something
has all the
in
updates on there.
Yeah.
And maybe,
I think North Andover has a page on, they've done now, but they had a page on their website of updates on the town.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even
Senior center.
Jane Wellman even mentioned just having like a Birch Meadow master plan page by itself on the town website, which could also be an option.
Yeah.
I don't think many people know like, oh, like let's go to the Recalc site to like learn about the community center. So, and I think maybe you even mentioned that at one of the last meetings, having a designated site for the community center / senior center or senior center,
Whatever.
whatever it is.
Center for Active Living.
Center for Active Living, yes. I think that would be
So
really
if
helpful.
anybody knows anybody that develops websites, recruit them so that we can, we could get something up.
Yeah, the consultant right now for Walker's Brook Drive made the website
Okay.
for
I
the
thought
town.
that was part of
So,
what BH&A, I thought I read in their proposal that they were going to put together a project website.
oh, great. Oh,
I,
good.
don't quote me on it.
But they did talk about how they are working, they have a lot of strategies about how to work with the community.
Yes.
That could be one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I tell you, one of the problems with the local TVs, a lot of people don't even know what station they're on.
No,
You're saying 3 stations. I couldn't name one of them.
no.
And Comcast changes them every now.
Evidently, aren't interested in town meeting, Mark. if they don't know what station. logo is.
Yeah. And it's different if you're Comcast versus Verizon, so it's a different set of numbers. So anybody who wants to join Jean and I on this adventure, you're more than welcome.
The thing that I don't understand is Nancy Zimlak said there's nothing on there. What is more exciting than watching a rerun of the selectmen's meeting for the third time?
Oh.
That is true. They're very good at
Only
putting
three, John? Come on.
Maybe I know your volunteer coordinator is just starting, but maybe if, she, right? She has interest in this area, she might find volunteers that would like, maybe something of a team, people could sort of do it together and rather than just one person, because that person will burn out eventually. But if you got a team, they could have some fun doing it. Might be something that she could generate some interest in.
Yeah. And I have one last thing. We need more volunteers. And we've got to figure out how to get them. And I don't mean, the volunteer coordinator and helping out at programs at the center. Yeah, we need volunteers for that too. But
The council needs volunteers.
The council needs volunteers in order to get this message out. When the library was somewhat controversial when it came into place, the director, they had a core of about 25, 30 volunteers, working volunteers that didn't just come for information, but they were working. So I would say pass the word. If you know anybody that might be interested in a group like that, you can tell them to contact me. And because that's one of the things, if we don't do that, there's, 15 of us here, 14 of us here, it's not enough people to do everything that we need to do.
And Nancy and I talked, go ahead.
Can we collaborate with the library since they already have good resources? Can we get them on our side?
Maybe. It was a while ago for the library.
Yeah.
I
couldn't even get the names of the people.
I actually wrote a little blurb of what we needed.
A long time ago.
In the packet, the blurb.
Oh, yeah.
What we really need are people who have experience with direct marketing, website design, graphic design. I mean, we're gonna want doorknob hangers, we're gonna want flyers, we're gonna want all the stuff that we see. I mean, when it comes to it.
Doorknob hanger is a pretty good.
We may want to pick the new volunteer coordinator's brain a little bit. Her background actually isn't in volunteer. It's actually in media and
Okay, great.
website and.
Well, she did manage volunteers in those jobs.
Yes, she did.
Maybe,
But
maybe I could share the blurb I wrote and maybe.
she has she has a lot of good ideas. She and I have been meeting every day and she has a lot of good ideas on reaching out. So we may be able to tie a lot of her thoughts into gaining volunteers.
What got me all excited about it is I got the schools, thing they mail to all of us with their update, and this is their one page on.
Can I see that?
The Killam School, and it's got beautiful graphic design. It's got really just to the point. Here are major things you need to know. It's on one page. And it's like, we need pages just like that, and we need them coming out somewhere just simultaneously, because these two things are, then they shouldn't be competing, but they definitely should be equally aware that these are things that need to be done. So that one got me all excited, but this is professional work we're looking at here.
Yeah, very cool.
Mark has his.
Yes, Mark.
Just another thought to add to that. How about creating some projects for the High School Honor Society? Tap into some high school students who in turn can probably do some outreach that I have no idea what it is, but they can use that and they can work with their parents and a whole constituency that frankly, we desperately need to communicate with.
That's a good, we need a volunteer to do that.
Well, Chris has a contest.
Well, we could also tap into Bridging Generations.
Yeah.
They've requested, that group has grown rapidly. They were trying to actually do 2 events because they had so many students that they wanted to do 2 nights this month.
Mhm.
So,
They have one this month?
what's that?
Do they have an activity this month?
Yes, we have a gingerbread making on December 20th. So, gingerbread house making. So, but that would be also another good group to tap into. They're growing and they're very active. They like,
A lot of energy.
yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing I just wanted to throw out there is, I think it's to everyone's advantage to not let this get pitted as us versus the school. I know, Mark, you always say it's not either or, it's both. But there really needed to be something like this, because we're in the exact same spot. You could duplicate their lovely little graphic for us as well. You could almost tweak the narrative by just changing a few nouns and it would be the same story. And they need to be getting into places where people can see where are these 2 major capital projects the town's gonna be taking on. And we need a way to get that bifurcation. You're nodding. Have you got a plan for this, Mark?
Jackie has a hand up.
Sorry, go ahead. I was gonna say, I completely agree with you, Marilyn. Is there a specific plan? No, but the narrative is that there are actually 3 projects that the town has been working on that are going to be coming off of your taxes starting next year and then the year after. Those are the library, the high school, and the Wood End School. So this town is used to managing multiple projects at the same time and paying for them at the same time. That's the nature of the number of municipal buildings we have. And the narrative has to be that these are the 2 highest priorities in the community, in my opinion, and hopefully other people are in agreement with that. And we need to figure them out in the most appropriate and responsible way. But these are the 2 priorities. It's not one or the other. These are the 2 priorities that we need to nail.
And we need to get the show on the road fast for this.
And to
'cause the
that
schools are way ahead of
Right.
us.
And to that end, I would, first, Jackie Bahina's got her name up, her hand up.
I was gonna say that I would assume if you're looking for volunteers and some younger volunteers, Austin Prep, those kids probably need to do community service hours to graduate. That might not be a bad.
Yeah, do you know anybody there, Jackie, that you could call? Oh.
No, not anymore. I'm
okay
for that group, unfortunately.
To that end, we've got a lot of ideas spread out on the table here. I would like to propose that we resurrect our January meeting for another COA meeting, that we can take care of this kind of business, and we always have a full agenda. I'm really concerned that we're going to go a month without a meeting. If anything, I think we almost need 2 meetings a month. But I would like to propose that we have our January meeting. I don't have a calendar in front of me, the 2nd Monday of January. I don't know.
January 8th,
January
1st is Monday, so the following Monday is the 8th.
Okay. So I can't make a motion.
I make a motion that we have a January 8th meeting.
I'll
Do
second it.
we have to make a motion to have a meeting? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't
No,
know.
we don't need a motion.
Okay.
All right. We need Jenna to get it scheduled for us. That's
Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah.
That's easy.
And we can just send it out. You know, who knows, maybe there's a big snowstorm and we'll all be zooming in, but at least we'll be talking and we won't lose the momentum.
And we'll hear from Karen.
And we'll hear from Karen. So those might be the 2 big things on
Yep.
the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any way we could potentially put a page like this in Pleasantries? A once a month thing on where we stand on.
But we need a larger audience, we really do.
I'm not suggesting that.
We can look at it, but not right now.
I'm suggesting.
Yeah,
this is a starting point.
And even if we don't put it in the pleasantries, we could do it as an individual flyer and maybe put it on high gloss paper.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm-
like that's,
I'm just saying.
you know,
it struck me as a
you could
place
just buy
where we
that,
could
right?
really
Print
get
it
Yeah, we'll
right
talk
on
about
there.
this in January.
We can, except schools did this already last month.
Except I think if you want to write something up and help.
This could, this could be changed. I can change this for what we needed. Honestly, it's our
Yeah,
story
maybe-
too. It's not.
Maybe
different.
you and
And-
Nancy and Mark, maybe,
Oh,
and
we can do this. No, this is easy. Well,
There has to be a group at Killam that spends the money to do all of that. They must have some sponsor group.
yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
not hard to
good.
format a flyer like that. Like,
No,
it's just the details of the wording, but like the graphics and stuff are relatively simple to put on like Canva or Publisher or,
it's true. It's true.
yeah, so.
And one more thing, January 9th, we're on the select board agenda to do a, kind of like an awareness outreach. This is who we are. And I know Mark does those updates while he's there, but it's kind of an opportunity to attach some faces to the name. So I've started to put together some kind of accomplishments or what we've done. Maybe it's on the idea of that. So if anybody has, any ideas, shoot it to Marilyn. She'll collect them. And
word shoot.
John has a question.
yeah, John?
Gonna make a motion to adjourn.
I'm hoping.
That's a good idea, but that is what I was gonna say.
He usually does.
Going back what I was talking about before, I have a habit of collecting newsletters from several different senior centers, and most of them do have a section every month that's like notes from the COA or announcements from the COA or memos, whatever. So I think it would be great if that could be put into the pleasantries.
And we can write it for you. I'm just asking, is there?
But right now, we just have to find the space.
That was my question.
Yeah, we just have to find the space, so this is,
I was talking about an insert.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, we could do a separate insert. I don't know,
Okay.
I don't know if that affects the mailing, but we could do a separate insert.
Okay, but we don't mail it to very many people anymore, do we?
No,
80.
80, yeah, that's next to, and we used to mail it to over 1,000, so. That's small change, and we paid for that in the council on aging in the past, the mailing. So.
you used to do three mailings a year, and it used to be 5,000 people.
I know.
But that
So
all stopped.
next month, January, what was it? January 8th, we're going to meet somewhere here, also on Zoom. And we'll get cracking on our outreach projects and hearing more ideas that Karen's gonna give us from the conference, so.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Third.
All
Hope I don't say fourth.
I gotta do a roll.
Gotta take.
I
We
think
had a schedule.
Somebody, who
Tino.
seconded it?
What? I seconded it.
Tina?
Then move
Oh,
to
a bunch of
adjourn.
us
Yeah.
did.
Marilyn did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Joe Coco,
Yes.
Di Benedetto,
Yes.
Fontino,
Yes.
Janowski,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
Panett,
Yes.
Prado,
Yes.
Shapley,
Yes.
Quadros.
Yes.
Yes.
And we are.
Okay,
Good
we are
meeting, everyone.
adjourned.
got there
Yeah.